There you go. All right, camera's on. Everything else, all right, good. So yes, question. Ground point, Tuba City. Yes, Tuba City.
Tuba City.
Yes, last night I was trying to submit my second week discussion through Blackboard, and couldn't let me send it because I did it in Word document form. So I sent you an email of my assignment.
Okay, so how did you send it? Did you send it as an attachment?
Through Blackboard or through
Yes.
email?
So one of the things is I don't want you to add it as an attachment. So say for example, if you're going to write it, and I'll show you how the process goes. So if everybody can take a look, hold on. So I'm going to switch over to student view. So everybody should see that. Alrighty, so I'm a student right now, and I go into discussion forums. So you have week 1, week 2, week 3. So I'm going to use week 3 as the example. Let me hurry up and get a quick sign sheet real quick. So if you look at that, you have all the questions and everything else. So I'm going to use it as I'm going to use this as a template. So I click on, so it should have opened last night. So I'm going to go to create a thread. So I create a thread, and I'm going to use one of my papers. I'm going to go as week 3. So I have one of my papers, that statement of the problem. So I'm going to select that. I copy it. I go back in here, Control V. It'll come up. Submit. Boom.
Yeah, I could not do that. It said this option is not available or something like that. When I tried to copy and paste that as well.
Did you do the Control V?
Control V.
Control V. So the Control V is a lot easier. If you do the copy and paste, it'll hit that rut. I always forget to tell a lot of students that you'll hit that rut when you try to submit it, because initially it won't do anything. It'll just keep telling you to resubmit, and everything else. So within that, that's the best way to do it, is to do the simple Control V. So you select the whole thing, Control A. So you select the whole thing. So Control A. So if you go into your Word document. So say for example, this is your Word document. So I'm going to hit Control, and I'm going to select all of it. And then I'm going to do a Control C. So Control C is to copy the whole thing. And then I'm going to go back over here, and that's where I drop it in there. It makes it a lot easier that way, versus if, say for example, if I'm going to do the same exact thing, and I'll try it again, but I'll try it from, so say for example, I click on week 3 again, and I want to respond to myself. I love what I wrote, and I want to reply to myself. So I do the same process again. So I do the Control A, and then I go in here and I just try to paste it. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Yes, so that's what you're going to get every time. So if you're going to try it, don't even try to do that. And if you look at it, it says Control plus X and all these different things. Just simply put the paste. If you notice, there's a little portion over here that says Control plus V. So that's what you're going to primarily do to paste the paper in there. The reason why I don't want attachments is because when, say for example, I want to read someone's paper, and I'm one of the students, and I'm going in, and I go in, and it's one of those things where, so I'm going to cancel this. It makes it a lot easier for me just to read this and then do a reply. Versus, say for example, I do the other route and I do an attachment. What's going to happen is you're going to go in and you're going to have to download the paper. So when you download the paper, how many people are willing to do and actually download the paper itself? Not many. It just creates an extra step for everybody. And so when you have to download the paper, it's one of those things where you're looking at it as, oh my goodness, and you end up having to do the whole thing and break it all down. But if you just simply go through this process, it's a little bit easier. And in addition to that, I think there was also another question in regards to what, do I have to add an abstract and all these different things? Again, one of the things is, this is not your library paper. So this is just a discussion. So the reason why I say APA format and APA styling is this. So if you notice how I'm writing it, so you have, if you read through statement of the problem, and then you had Jones, and then 2008, then you have Rose, 2016, and then I have Navajo Nation, 2018. That's what I'm looking at for APA style. That's all I'm looking at. That's what I'm making sure that you have it solidified so that when you're going on, say for example, you're going to graduate school and everything else, you'll be able to have that down. So that's primarily what's called in-text citation. You're breaking all of that down to make sure that you're giving credit where credit's due. Notice how my paper is in terms of how it's written. Almost every single sentence, who am I giving credit to? Another individual. And I've had some individuals who say, well, can I do quotes? If you can break it down, if you can interpret it, if you can read it, and then you're also able to break it down into your own words, it's a lot better that way. But you still have to give credit where credit's due, because if you do that and you say, yeah, this is what I did, somebody's going to come along and say, hey, my grandma, who is part of the Navajo Times, she wrote that paper, and you just copied everything, and within that, it can be considered liability, and they can end up suing you for defamation and everything else, and also for copyright infringements. So that's one of the things that we're always looking at. So that's the reason why we always try to make sure that you can primarily offer some level of, this is where I'm getting it from. So now, I'm going to show you how the reference is. So is everybody still with me? So right here, one of the things is, if you look at it, this is where you're looking at the references. Always make sure you put references at the top of that, because that's where your sources are. Those are all your sources. So now notice how this first one is broken down. So it's not primarily all done in perfect, so if you look at the second one, Jones, we'll go with Jones. So Jones, if you look at it, it has a journal. So you have Jones, comma, and that's their first name, L, period, and then you do the brackets, then you have the year, period, and then if you notice the distinctive characteristics and needs of domestic violence victims in a Native American community. Notice how that one is. Notice how the first word, or the first letter in that word is capitalized. So as it's capitalized, the rest of it, you want to make sure that all of that is lowercase. But if you have a colon or a semicolon, you stop there, and then if they have another additional word after that, hold on, something's clicking on this side. Okay, so, and then you have a period, and then if you look at Journal of Family Violence 23, so the journal, you're going to have it in italics, so it's going to shift it. And then you have the volume, and then you have the page numbers. So that's all you're trying to do, that's all you're trying to make sure that you're referencing. So as you're going along, if you notice some of your assignments, that's what you're primarily looking at. So, let me go back. No, I don't want to exit preview. So I go back to discussion forum. So we have week 1, you have unread posts, week 2, 28, and then you have week 3. So right now we're in week 3, we're going into week 3. And this is where I try to make sure that I always emphasize the fact that you need a book. You need to utilize your book. Because it's great that you know the information, I want you to start backing it up. I want you to start backing up all the information that you're saying. So that's why I encourage you to get a book. As time progresses, sometimes I'll actually use articles. If you're having issues with articles, please let me know immediately. And in addition to that, I saw some of the emails until this morning. If if, say for example, I try to monitor it to the best of my ability, but it's one of those things where if it goes into the evening and everything else and I'm asleep, I probably won't respond to the email until the next day. It's just kind of one of those things of human nature. I have to sleep at some point. So that's one of the things I'm always looking at is within that, I will try to emphasize the fact that you will need the book or you will need the article. For my 111s, they've had some issues with that. So that's one of the things I'm always trying to make sure that I always try to make sure that it's stated as you're going along, that you're not floundering all over the place. I think that's one of the big things. I don't want you to overly stress. I don't want you to freak out. Again, some of it is actually technical error, everything else. But if that's the case, I always try to advise a lot of students to start looking at it now. So again, you guys are looking at it right now. It's already uploaded. It's already there. It's available. Because primarily what I do is Friday, I start getting everything together so that Sunday morning at 12 a.m., this primarily drops and it already starts going out. And the other one, what happens is it closes. So at 11:59 p.m. it will close Sunday night. So at 11:59, if you haven't submitted it, I would urge you to start looking at all of this. And the reason why I try to urge you to start looking at it now is so that you're not waiting until Sunday night or Sunday at close to 10 o'clock and everything is panicking. But it's one of those things where, if that's the case, again, try to email me and I'll try to respond to you. And let me just recap everybody. Is everybody here now, I think? So we did go over, very quickly, we did go over how to upload. So if you guys are having issues, how many have had issues with uploading assignments? Okay, so what we did is we went through, we did the whole thing, so I'm going to try it again. So you do Control A, which selects everything. So this is your paper, it's an amazing paper, it's awesome. Control A. Control C, which copies it. And then you go over here, and I'm going to post it in here because I want the professor to read it again for the second time and just marvel at everything that I've written. And so then I'm going to do what's called Control V. So you just hit Control V, it'll automatically drop it in there. Versus if I do this again, and I say, you know what, I want to paste it in there. So I right click it with my mouse, what's going to happen is this. If that happens, just say, okay. I remember what the professor said. He said Control V. It automatically drops it in there. It's a lot easier that way. It's so much simpler. The reason why is that I think I went over that with everybody already. But one of the things with the attachments, I don't want to create an additional step for everybody else if it's already available. I think that's the best way to put it is, if you do the attachment, you have to click on it, and then you have to download the whole thing. If you're using data on your phone, if you're using all these different types, that's the best way to do it. Articles, I haven't done articles with you guys yet, I don't think. Did I? Not yet. I haven't done articles with you guys yet. But within that, what I do is I use the student preview to make sure that when I click on it, it downloads. If you're having issues, just take a breath, don't panic, and say, okay, you know what? I can email him and I can ask for him to send it to me. But if you do, and this I will continuously always state, if you do, please make sure you put what class you are in and what section number. It helps me so much. Because if, say for example, you say my articles are not uploading, help me, I have to go through the whole process of clicking on each portion to try to find where you're at. And it takes about a whole another half hour just to try to find you. And then by that time, I could have already sent it to you. So make sure I already have it uploaded. If you go into my jump drives, so one of the things is my jump drives already have things already labeled. So if I were to go into Psy241, 241, and then we have all of this. This is all your PowerPoints. But again, as they continue, it will always try to make sure it will drop into wherever it needs to drop into. in regards to Blackboard. And one of the things I'm always trying to encourage is, if you can, download it on campus. I don't know if anybody's had trouble with that on their own home internet, where you're trying to download it and it just keeps freezing. The reason why is a lot of it, this is the bulk information. So a lot of times there's multiple articles that you're looking at, or there's multiple things that you're looking at. So within that, it makes it a lot easier when you're on campus just to try to make sure you download everything. Does anybody have any more questions about that?
I do.
Yes?
So, can you just like do a regular copy and then Control V? Does it have to be
Yeah.
Alpha Charlie Victor or
Yeah.
another order?
It's really easy. So if you were to do the whole thing again, so say for example you come across the paper again, all you got to do is
The
just
main
hit
thing
the,
is the Control V just to get it
Yeah.
out of there,
the Control V is one of the things that you're always trying to look at. So say for example you have all of this and you want to select the whole paper. So you just go through, do the whole highlight select with your mouse, and then you go up here, copy, and then you go back over here. So let me get rid of this, Control Z. And then if you try this, remember, this is what's going to happen. That. So don't do that, just do the Control. So use your pinky, and then V. Drops it in.
I've been doing it on my phone.
Okay, that
No,
works.
it's just every time that I type in that box,
Mhm.
it comes out
Yeah,
crazy.
that's the
So,
only thing.
I just do it on my phone.
Exactly. So if you're going to try it on your phone, I would advise you also, if you're going to use your phone, and I've done this numerous times, even for my graduate and also my doctoral portion, I've used my phone before. If you're going to use your phone, say for example you're on Mac or you're on, or you have Android or you have, what was the other one? iPhone. So if you have an iPhone or an Android, go into your stores. Your store will have Microsoft Word. So if you do that, I would advise also to get one of these. So I have one of these. I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you guys see it?
Well, through the Blackboard app,
Yeah.
you can actually post right to there.
Exactly. I don't know if you guys heard that. Through the Blackboard app, you can post it. And it makes it so much easier. Yes?
There's Google Docs
Mhm.
that has a free Microsoft Word that you can use. You don't have to download the software to your computer. You can use it online. It's Microsoft Docs that has Microsoft Word in it
Okay.
where you can type.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So if you, I don't know if you guys heard that. Google Docs has Microsoft Word on it as well. I don't know if you guys can see me. So this is what I use. Can you guys see this? Is my camera working? Can you guys see this? Or am I looking on this side? I'm on this camera. There I am.
They can see you.
They can see me on that side, but this one's not working. I don't know why. So, ooh, I know what to use. Okay, so this is what I use. You guys can see that now. Yes, yay! So that's what I have. If you notice, this portion will load into my phone. This will hold, I don't know how much. So this is a little leaf. And so within that, it will hold all my stuff. I'll put it into my computer, everything else, and it'll help in terms of time. So let me go back the other way. So, does anybody have any additional questions regarding that? Any concerns? Anybody?
Will we still get credit if it's not possible to upload this, but to send it to your email?
If you send it to my email, and this is where it gets very tricky. If you do send it to my email, make sure you post, and I will urge each of you, make sure you post your course name and primarily the section, as well as your last name. It helps me so much, because if I don't know your course and your section, I will sit there for the next 5 to 10 minutes trying to figure out where you're at, and I have to go through the whole thing, and I have to go through the whole listing. But it's a lot easier if you just simply post where you're getting it and everything else, even if you're asking for an article, it makes it so much easier. So, does anybody else have any other questions? Because I want to make sure you get it in on time. Because once we close, I start grading the next one, the next batch, everything else, so I move on to the next area. And some individuals are like, that's not fair. I have 100, it went up to 154 students now. So now I'm at 154. Yay! So within that, you have the largest, everybody, I would say you guys have the largest department now for psychology, and I encourage it, I love it. I love the fact that you guys are all going to the area of counseling, psychology, and understanding better about it, and it's one of those things where it just gives me so much joy. So within that's one of the things I'm always trying to look at is helping each of you as you're going along. I don't want to simply just leave you high and dry. I don't want to leave you outside of the loop. So if you have questions, if you have additional questions, email me. I will respond to them. Unless there's, I don't know, a catastrophe or something of some nature. So is everybody good? Are we good on that side? I don't know. Yes, yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
I tried to copy and paste, and it wouldn't like do the whole double spacing when I
For the discussion?
it over. It would just, yeah.
That's fine. That's not primarily what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is your in-text citation. That's the main thing I'm worried about. That's always what I'm worried about. Your in-text citation and your referencing. I think I should have gone over that at the beginning. I don't know why I didn't. But that's one of the things I'm always worried about, is your in-text citation and your references. If you're adding in quotes, make sure it's a block quote. After 40 words and above, you're going to make it into a block quote. If you're getting a quote, it's a huge quote. You're writing about Martin Luther King, or he made this amazing quote, everything else. If it's 40 words or more, that's one of the things is you do the block quote. And the block quote just simply moves everything over just for that quote itself. And if you do that, at the bottom, you have to make sure that you do the in-text citation. Make sure you indicate where you got the information. In addition to that, you also make sure that you add the paragraph. What paragraph? So you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I read your paper, and I'm going to look in there, and I say, you know what, I want to read this, and I want to see I want to make sure this is a real quote, and I click on it, and I look it up, and it's some completely, I don't know. And that's one of the things I want to make sure that's one of the things you're always looking at is, can I back it up in terms of all these different areas? That's all I'm worried about. So for when it doesn't double space everything else, that's when it's one of those things where it may even, I think even as you noted, if you use a tablet, or if you use a phone.
I think yours, somebody, it might have been, I'm trying to think.
Okay. I'm waiting for her to think.
I'm sorry, I forgot it was on.
It's okay. It's all right. So that's, I don't know if anybody who came in late or came in, again, the weather is one of those things I try to be considerate of because I want to make sure that you're safe. But in addition to that, because we're on all campuses, if you're not able to make it, I don't want you to risk life and limb. I still have to be here. And that's where I have this video going. So I will upload this one so that if you're not able to make it, again, it'll still be uploaded to make sure that you as an individual are able to still view the information, see me, everything else, and all those different things. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I do, I have a couple.
Yes.
This is Diane and Shinli.
Mm-hmm.
My first major concern is I do not have a syllabus because for some reason I cannot download nor can I print. Is it possible that you can make some of the information other than read only?
Is it not printing?
Because no, it won't download or print. And
So-
all I get when I go to try and find the syllabus and open it up on the site. You've got the blue line that you click on for it. It comes up blank. Could you send me one by my personal email?
Is it, so, how many have, pop-up blockers on their phone?
This is not on my phone, this is on my computer.
Or even on your computer? So if you notice, I clicked on it and it automatically showed up, but I can send it to you. Again, that's one of the things, is just email me. If you have any questions, or even for the syllabus, I want to make sure you get it. So if you even within that, I'll send it off, but make sure that you do send me an email for section number and also course number, so that it helps me, so that I know where I'm sending it to. I might end up sending you Psych111 and you'll be like, oh my goodness, this is a lot of stuff, we have a lot of quizzes. And I don't want to do that. Bless you. So again, did anybody else have any issues downloading the? Okay, so I can send it to you. So it's going to go directly to your, if you send it through your Warrior Web email, that's where I'll send it through. Hope that helps.
I'll send it from my personal Google.
I would advise not to, because one, it just throws everything off.
Okay, I'll see if I can get it in Warrior Web then.